Hey guys, Stay Patient here, and welcome to this week's trophy update. I apologise if I look tired, my eyes are just like surrounded by bags. It's been quite a tiring sort of 24 hours, it's always sort of exhausting dealing with negative feedback on YouTube videos. If you guys haven't seen yesterday's subscribers trophy collection review yet, go and check it out. But I did actually want to just clear something up because there wasn't much negative feedback, but there was like maybe just one or two people that were a bit salty about the fact that I'd made it a Patreon reward. So I just want to clear up the fact that the trophy collection review series isn't limited only to my Patreon subscribers. It's just that, people can sort of jump themselves further up the list by subscribing on Patreon. So I am still going to cover everyone else, and I'm going to try and remedy the issue people were having by making it a more regular feature if I can. I'm still in the process of trying to figure out how much time I have and how many videos I can make weekly and, which ones I need to alternate between and things like that. So I haven't set a schedule for the channel yet, but I might try and make it a weekly series so that we look at, one subscriber's trophy collection each week, and that will mean that I can get through them a lot quicker. And it will mean that it's still worthwhile people putting their name down on the list without subscribing on Patreon. Obviously, the Patreons will come first. It's really just a way that I can reward them thank them for supporting me financially, which I really do need because even though the channel's twice the size it was when I did the 5,000 subs video, I'm not actually making any more money on YouTube. So the Patreon support is a big help. Obviously, I think the reason that I haven't really grown on YouTube when it comes to revenue is the fact that, several months ago, I was putting up a lot of videos that were drawing in more people and that were the kind of things people search for on YouTube. So I was putting up, guides and top 10s and things like that were resulting in a big increase in subscribers and a lot of views. But since then, I've kind of tried to gear the channel more towards my existing subscribers rather than worrying so much about drawing in new people. So obviously I've never used clickbait or anything like that. But a lot of the videos I put up now are very much geared towards people who already know about my channel. They're not the kind of thing that people would search for on YouTube. I'm still bringing in the subs, but not at the same rate. So, when channels do that, I think there are two different types of channels. There are those that focus on content that people are looking for, and those are the channels that grow really quickly and make a lot of money. And then there are other channels, a bit like Kinda Funny Games, that do videos that people don't necessarily stumble across, but they're very much geared towards their existing subscribers and geared towards, providing their Patreon supporters with the content that they enjoy. And it's those kinds of channels that don't get as many views on YouTube, but they do well on Patreon because people appreciate the fact that they're tailoring the content towards their fans. So that seems to be the direction that I've been kind of leaning in recently. It hasn't been deliberate, but it's been more a case of the fact that I've probably been giving myself too much to do, I've increased the number of weekly shows, I'm doing weekly videos on the sales, the trophy update, I'm doing the Trophy Hunters Hangout series, and it has kind of limited the time I have to be able to put out the top 10s and the guides that do tend to bring in more subscribers. So I'm going to try and create a better balance there. But like I say, I'm going to do my best to make the subscriber review a weekly thing, just so that those of you who can support me on Patreon, which I thoroughly appreciate, not everyone can, but if you would really like a review anyway, you can put your name on the list and hopefully we'll be able to get round to you eventually. Obviously, there's a lot of names already, but if I do it weekly, then hopefully within 6 months to a year, then most of you will be able to receive one. Anyway, on the subject of reaching 10,000 subs, we mentioned the video I did, a few months ago when we reached 5,000. And we're about to do not really a similar video. We're going to do another celebratory video, although it's a stream this time. I know most of you guys know about this because I put up a video a couple of days ago informing you. But on Tuesday, so today is the 12th, it's Sunday the 12th of March. On Tuesday the 14th of March, at 7 p.m. GMT, so UK time, or 2 p.m. Eastern, I'm going to be streaming, basically me taking a look through all my games, all my trophies rather, looking at all the platinums I've earned, giving a brief kind of opinion on each one, and also answering your guys' questions. That's what it's going to be all about. It's going to be like a Q&A. So you can jump in the chat. I'm going to have the chat on screen whilst we're streaming, so you guys will be able to see what everyone else is saying. Obviously, you'll be in the chat anyway, but anyone watching the video afterwards, when I upload it to YouTube, you'll be able to see all the conversation that's going on in the chat. And so it'll be my way of being able to answer any questions that you guys have. And you can sort of ask me to go into a bit more detail on any of the games that we go through. Obviously, there's going to be several hundred. So we're going to whiz through most of them quite quickly. But if there are any that you have questions about, or you'd like to know a bit more about whether the trophies are still available, whether, it's quick or easy or whatever, we're going to be covering everything that you guys are asking me. For now though, guys, obviously we're here to cover this week's trophy update. And, we have a few games that have been added as usual, and we have one very, very big game that most of you will be fully aware of. I almost put up a separate video for this one, but I thought, the trophies were only added, I think, a couple of days ago. So I thought, it's not going to be long until the trophy update. I'll leave it till then, and it can be like the prime focus of the video. So that is obviously Mass Effect Andromeda. That's coming out on the 21st. I think that's the same release date worldwide. So that's not this coming Tuesday, but the Tuesday after. So we've got just over a week. Get whatever you're playing finished, because this is going to consume your life, I'm sure. If you're anything like me, I just can't wait for this. And I'm probably going to kind of, I don't know, I almost feel like taking time off, taking like a week off to just play it and put up some content for it. But I can't, obviously. I don't have that in me. I'm, putting out content for you guys. You're my main focus, and I don't want to just take time off for selfish reasons, even though I probably deserve it. Anyway, we're going to kind of, I guess, look through the other stuff first. I'll put a timestamp just for those of you watching the video just for the Mass Effect trophies. What I'll do today is put a timestamp. I'll put a pinned comment and, maybe put something on screen just so you know where the Mass Effect discussion starts. But just so we can get everything else out of the way and then dive into Mass Effect, we'll come back to where we ended last week. Oh, there was one game actually that we spoke about, I think, a few weeks ago. It was called Gem Smashers. So this, we did comment on this briefly. I don't think it's a very old game, but apparently it was glitched. At least the Vita version, one of the trophies on the Vita version was unobtainable, and there was a glitch trophy on both versions that might not have popped for you, if you played it, even if you earned the trophy. But apparently they have fixed it now. They've fixed it, all the trophies work perfectly, and it's a super easy platinum. So if you look at it here, we've got 65% platinum completion, and that was despite the possible glitch that could have happened. Obviously, it's only been fixed recently. And if we take a look at the completion time, this is, under 3 hours, most people. I think the completion time on PlayStationTrophies.org is 2 to 5 hours, according to the trophy guide. And there is a trophy guide up, so some people were taking longer. Obviously, I'm guessing these people maybe started playing it before it was patched and then finished off the trophies afterwards. But yeah, it's a very quick one. I'm going to check and see if the Vita version is any different, because sometimes this has got a lower completion percentage. Oh, this would be because there was an unobtainable trophy. Okay. Yeah, so although there was one trophy that was kind of glitched on both, the Vita did have one that was literally unobtainable. So that would explain the lower completion percentage. And that would also explain why the completion time is longer, I'm guessing. But yeah, so this is a nice, quick, easy platinum with a trophy guide. Gem Smashers, you can stack the platinum, Vita version and PS4. It doesn't, it's not cross-buy, so you can't, purchase both together. You have to buy them separately. But it's not too expensive. I think the PS4 version was $7.99 on the UK store, £7.99. So I'm guessing that's probably going to be $9.99 on the US store. In fact, we'll take a look. So here we are on the US store, and it's $12.99, $12.99 on PS4, $9.99 on Vita. So like I mentioned, you do have to purchase them separately if you want to stack the platinum. Gem Smashers, I haven't actually looked at gameplay, but I'm thoroughly assuming it's one of those kind of match colors type things, like Candy Crush or something like that. In fact, in the interest of being thorough, let's check out a trailer here. This is a PS Vita and PS4 trailer. Let me just turn the sound down here. I wonder if it was out on anything else first. I don't actually know if it was a mobile game first. We just want to know what kind of game it is. So let's fast forward a bit to some actual gameplay, shall we? Come on. Okay, here we go. Oh, right, okay, so are you playing as the ball, I guess? Yeah, okay, it looks like you're moving a ball around, you're smashing stuff. Man, it looks very easy. If you have full control over the ball, then it's almost like pinball, but you're actually controlling the ball itself rather than paddles. Yeah, okay. Right, I can see why people, are finding that really easy. That would be a nice quick one for you guys. So another easy plat to add to the collection. Now, if we go back to the games here, we've got loads of stacking versions of Unearthing Mars. I think this was the Vita version, if I remember correctly. We did discuss it in a previous video, so we're not going to go back into it now. It doesn't have a platinum anyway. We have had Lego Worlds, which I believe released on the 7th, so that was out this Tuesday, just gone as far as I know. And this is obviously like, this is almost like Minecraft, but Lego. So I watched a bit of gameplay. You can sort of terraform, so you can change the terrain. You can build it up, you can break it down, you can build stuff. Obviously, a lot of it is a case of going around and breaking things and then finding objects that you can then use to build with. And apparently, there's a decent amount of options when it comes to building, but not a lot of options when it comes to texture. That was one of the problems that one of the guys had when I watched the video on it. That was from the beta though, so I'm not sure if that carries over to the main game, and I don't think anyone's really worried about texturing that much, unless you're like really into these building games, unless you're like a big Minecraft player and stuff like that. There are some trophies that people have pointed out as potentially being troublesome, or at least ones that they're interested in finding out what the actual requirements are. Things like legendary blocks, I believe. Let's see. Yes, legendary, all these different legendary blocks. Wow, there's loads of them. I see why people have pointed them out. So these might be tied to side quests or just exploration or maybe building or whatever. Legendary 1x2x3 slope brick. So these are building items, I guess. Maybe they're random drops, who knows? But it looks like these are just rare building items. I mean, they don't look that interesting. They're just slopes and corner bricks and stuff. So, I mean, it's going to be a bit of an anticlimax when you do find them, apart from obviously hearing the ding for the trophy. But yeah, I mean, it's a long list. We're not going to look through the whole thing. I kind of assume it's going to be like not too hard. I reckon it might be quite long-winded, probably longer than your average Lego game, but that's just me sort of spitballing. I think it's probably going to be fairly straightforward. Someone mentioned that you don't actually die. It's like any other Lego game where you just, if you're killed, you just kind of fall into pieces and then respawn in the same place. You just lose some studs, which you can then pick back up again. So it's very much like any typical Lego game. You don't have to worry about lives or anything like that, as far as I know. But that kind of implies it probably will be easy. It might just be tricky finding everything you need. But again, if dying doesn't matter, then that's not really a difficulty, is it? It's just a case of spending time and maybe following a guide once one is put together. Oh, I have just noticed someone's posted here legendary brick coordinates. Ah, okay. So this will be interesting, guys. Just noticed people were responding to me. So there's a post here. If you come on to psnprofiles.com, this might be on playstationtrophies.org as well, which it probably will be, to be honest, if it's been out for 5 days already. But yeah, here you've got the coordinates of all the legendary bricks. So it looks as though they are, let's read it quickly. I don't remember which one goes with which coordinates, blah, blah, blah. You must have at least 80 gold bricks before starting to look for the legendary bricks. Okay. Since I have the coordinates, you don't have to go find all the fragments, but if you'd like to find them and assemble them to get the coordinates yourself, I can walk you through. Okay, so you find fragments that piece together to give you the coordinates of the legendary bricks. But those legendary bricks are already there, it seems. If you just go to the coordinates, I'm going to list them, type then exactly as shown into the map search bar. Alright, so type this as it is into the search bar. Then hit find world and travel there. Oh, you can, once there, use the same coordinates in that map too. Hit options. Okay, so you can kind of like travel to the world that these legendary bricks are stored in and then go to the exact coordinates to find the specific location of where they are. That's very helpful. Thank you to Green Chaos for that. So that's going to help out a lot of people, I'm sure. Let's hop back and carry on with the rest of the games here. So we have Chaos Child, but this is the Korean stacking list. So this is one of the Japanese visual novels. It's easy and it's quick, but this is, like I say, these are just stacking versions. Hardly anyone's played them because they are the Korean versions, which are very difficult to get hold of anywhere else in the world, as you can imagine. And there are 3 other versions, as far as I remember. In fact, we'll search for it, because this might be one that some of you hardcore trophy hunters may be looking to pick up. Chaos, let's do the whole name just to whittle it down. Okay, yeah, so we've got a PS3 version, Vita and PS4. These are all Japanese, so it hasn't actually released in the West as far as I know. But these are all Japanese. They're a lot easier to get hold of. You can go to like playasia.com or probably download it off the Japanese store. Although if you do that, obviously you won't be able to play the Vita version because you can only have one account signed into a Vita at once. But these 2 are Korean. So that it's an older game, you know, it's not a new release. It's not on the list because it's new. It's just had a stacking version, which you won't be able to get hold of anyway. But it's worth pointing out because it is an easy plat if you do want to pick it up from Japan. There are obviously the Kingdom Hearts games. Now, we looked at some of these the other day. I think when it released the other day, that was probably just 1.5. I forget. We go through so many games. I don't think this is stacking. Can we change it to... No, we can't change it to PS4 only. So we've got Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 on PS4, Birth by Sleep, Chain of Memories, Dream Drop Distance, A Fragmentary Passage. Okay, so yeah, there aren't any stacking. There's nothing stacking here. I just wanted to double check that because I didn't know whether it was a stacking version from another region or whether it was just that, you know, this is like 1.5 and 2.5. So I think the one that released before on PS4 was only 1.5. Maybe it's different content. Maybe it's the same content, but it doesn't include the second game. It's a bit weird. They're releasing so many different versions of Kingdom Hearts. They're really on a Kingdom Hearts kick these days, like ramming it down our throats. Which is cool, I'm fine with it, but it's a bit annoying when they release some content and then they release that same content again with more content added, and it's usually not much more money. Us early adopters always get kind of screwed, don't we? Okay, we've got Blue Rider. Sorry, I do remember this. For a minute, I was struggling to picture what it was. This is like almost like a Resogun shooter, but top down, almost like a bullet hell kind of shmup, I guess. I've got a trailer here. It looks kind of cool, you know. It's probably going to be difficult. Most bullet hell shmups are, but it does look kind of cuter and more kind of cartoony than your typical game in this genre. So, you know, it could well be that they've taken a more casual approach to it. Maybe it's trying to kind of appeal to the masses more so. I think you play as... I'm trying to remember. I watched this trailer literally like yesterday or the day before. Oh yeah, this almost like little toy guy. Oh, he is a ship. Okay, maybe he's driving the ship. Yeah, it looks like there he is in the back. So, as you can see, it's very much more kind of... almost looks like it's aimed at children more so, based on the graphical style. But as we play through, you will notice a lot of dodging being required. Now, it could be that when they recorded the trailer, they deliberately asked whoever was playing to get into positions that were quite precarious, you know? Get into difficult positions where there's lots of bullets around them. It could be that you can just hang back and shoot from a distance and the bullets will be further apart and much easier to dodge. But he's like getting in sort of up close and personal and having to do a lot of dodging. They kind of maybe want to make it look more exciting. And of course, the difficulty of these games really depends on how much life you have, how many lives you have, whether you can set it to like infinite lives, things like that. I know on Under Defeat, you could play the game for, I think, 8 hours, and the longer you played it, the more credits you unlocked until you played it. I think it was 8 or 15 hours. Once you'd done that amount of playing and you could just do it AFK, that gave you access to infinite credits. So you could literally just keep playing until you finished the game. You didn't have to worry about losing lives or anything like that. Quite a long trailer. Let's have a look. Yeah, it's very long. They are doing a lot of long trailers recently, PlayStation. I guess they're kind of responding to the fact that a lot of people do request, or they do sort of ask for gameplay. They do moan when a trailer is just cinematics and things like that. In fact, we're going to show you a trailer in a minute that is only cinematics, and it's literally not even enough to figure out what genre the game is, you know? So it might be that they're making these longer trailers just so that they can, you know, have a little bit of a cinematic at the start like they did here, but then show plenty of gameplay and try and entice people into playing it. I think with games like this, they're not going to be as well known, you know, they're not going to be advertised on TV and things like that. So you need to know it exists to be interested in it, and it looks kind of cool. So showing a lot of gameplay to display the game in its full true form is probably a good idea. Anyway, looks kind of cool. We'll have a quick look at the trophies. There's only 14, so I mean, that doesn't mean that it's going to be a quick one by any means. They could be 14 very long-winded trophies, but it does make it easier to look through. You've defeated the boss on stage, all the 8 stages, all bosses cleared. So that's most of the trophies done. Wow. This could be easy. 3 stages completed without a scratch. If that has to be in order, it could be more difficult. If you can just do 3 separately, maybe do the first stage 3 times in a row, or, you know, 3 times at any point, then that might not be too bad if it's a easy enough game. Complete all stages without being killed. Again, this depends on whether it has to be done in one sitting. Hopefully you can do each one individually. So, I mean, it's got a ribbon here. It's got a ribbon that kind of makes me wonder if maybe that's the icon that is stamped on each mission, each stage, once you've done it without dying. That would kind of imply that it's a bit easier if you can sort of do a stage, perfect it, you know, get used to it, and then, you know, do it without dying, and then move on to another one, do the same, go through the cycle of learning it and everything. Hopefully it doesn't have to be all in one sitting. Destroy all your enemies in a single game. So that could be finishing the game in one sitting, or it could be completing a stage, killing everything in the stage, or maybe completing the whole game, killing everything. Not sure. It does look fun though. I might check this one out, or maybe if any of you guys try it out, be sure to let us know what it's like, because this looks like an enjoyable title that if it is easy enough, it'd be worth picking up. Find all the relics in every stage, show a collectible related trophy. That's a bit annoying. Hopefully the relics affect the gameplay in some way. Maybe they upgrade your weapons or something. If that's the case, then it makes it worthwhile. But if it's literally just find these objects that have no relevance, I find it annoying when they tack trophies like that on. They just follow the trend of adding collectibles. Like, collectibles are supposed to be, you know, before trophies, collectibles meant something. You'd collect them because they'd give you something in the game, because, you know, they weren't popping trophies, so they had to give you something in the game. Sometimes there'd be pointless collectibles that was just a case of finding them for the sake of, you know, just finishing the game to 100%, you know, if you're a completionist or whatever. But for the most part, collectibles, you know, had an effect on the gameplay in some way. But nowadays with trophies, they just put collectibles in for the sake of adding another trophy and extending the lifespan of the game. So, I mean, hopefully that has some relevance. A bit like in Resogun, you know, you had the weapon power-ups. There wasn't a trophy for them, but you could shoot the weapon power-ups, collect them, and it would build your weapon's power and add more, like, guns onto your ship and things like that. But this looks kind of cool. If anyone's played this, I'd really love to hear your feedback. Okay, Crawl is actually a game that I haven't looked at. I did just quickly open an image, or like I guess a GIF, and I'm guessing this is Crawl. I mean, it's got the icon here. You know, I searched for it. There isn't a lot of information on it. It's very new, just been added literally this morning to psnprofiles.com. So quite often there are games added that, you know, no one really knows about. They just add the trophies and that's the first that people hear of it. It might be very well known. I don't know. I just haven't had much chance to sort of keep up to date with everything this week. But, you know, it looks like it's probably like an old school arcade type game. I have had a look at Leave the Nest and Skyforge. These both look kind of interesting. Now, I do have a trailer for this open. And this is the trailer I referred to that doesn't really give away what genre it is. It's all CGI. And when I first watched it, I had to look up what genre it was, because it could have been a sort of top-down strategy game. It could have been a MOBA, which I thought it was to begin with. and it could have been an MMORPG, which is what it is. So it's an MMORPG. It's been out on PC for a couple of years, or almost 2 years. It got fairly good reviews, not like massively high. The one review I saw was from MMORPG Gamer, and it got a 6.5, I believe. But the gameplay, I mean, I'll leave you guys to check out the gameplay. The CG, the trailer itself is pretty cool. It kind of reminds me of, I mean, look at this. There's so many units. It kind of made me think of a top-down. I was expecting to watch some gameplay and be like, right, you're top-down, you're sending units into battle and things like that. With the characters you're playing as, it very much looks like a clash of two sides. You've got classes on each side by the looks of things, or at least it seemed that way. And that's what made me think it might have been a MOBA. Very much like a MOBA trailer. But like I say, it's an MMORPG, and the one cool thing about it is the fact that you can change all these classes. You can kind of change between them during gameplay. So I think you've got basically one character, and you swap between, different classes on the fly, not during battle, but when you're out of battle. So if you're in like a raid group or a raid party, and let's say your medic leaves or whatever, then one of you can literally just swap out to become a medic and cover that spot. So that's kind of cool. That's the kind of thing that I hope Destiny does. In fact, someone I was speaking to recently about Destiny 2, they said that they heard, I think this must have been a while ago, because they've done a stream recently that said that the characters were carrying over, all their skills and stuff reset, but maybe new skills and everything, but the actual look of your three characters carries over. But he was saying that there was going to be one character and they were going to have access to all of the different classes in the game. And I love that idea. I think that's pretty cool. It's almost a bit like Kingdoms of Amalur, where you don't swap between classes, but you can respec yourself and you have access to all of the skill trees for the three different classes, and you can share out your points between all three, so you're like a mixture of them all, or you can focus on one or two or whatever. That kind of thing's cool, not having a completely separate character for a different class, because then you just end up doing all the same content again. It's nice being able to switch out on the fly. But yeah, so that's Skyforge, a new MMORPG. Now, I believe it's free to play, so that's a key factor of this game. Obviously on PS4, it's going to be a free to play game, or it was on PC at least, and I'm assuming they're going to, go with the same model, hopefully. I haven't really looked through the trophies, and it's the kind of game that I don't think will make a lot of sense when it comes to trophies without having played it. We've got loads of trophies here for completing upgrades in different temples. Who knows how that works? I mean, we could look into the game. I could have spent sort of an hour or two researching the game, on the PC forums and the sort of instructions on the PC manuals and things like that, just to understand the game. But that was just time I didn't have this week. And I'm sure those of you who are interested in MMORPGs will just jump on this one anyway, regardless of trophies. But let's crack on. We've got Leave the Nest here. This is kind of interesting. This is referred to as an infinite flapper. Now, when I read that, I thought it meant that it was going to be like Flappy Bird, which it kind of is. But this is a VR game, and it's in first person. So rather than going sideways across the screen like on Flappy Bird or Flappy Goat, as a lot of you are aware of on Goat Sim, that nightmare trophy. But instead of, going sideways like that, you're going forward, and you're literally having to flap your arms to get through the levels. It looks really interesting. Obviously, you need to use the Move controllers, so it senses where your arms are. You've got the VR headset on. Apparently, they've kind of optimized it to make sure that it doesn't cause motion sickness, or at least as much as possible. They've tried to limit that. This is the trailer for it here on Vimeo.com. And, it's quite a quick one. Yeah, it looks kind of interesting. We're going to look at the trophies in a second, because it's quite interesting that the platinum for this game, how easy you find the platinum, will literally be determined by your fitness level, which is like a real first, I mean, there are the odd game every now and again that requires you to be fit, maybe using there was a game recently, I think, or a few months ago, that required an exercise bike. So that was pretty crazy. But as you can see, they're having to literally flap to get through the levels, and there are some trophies that will require a real high level of fitness. We'll take a look at those now. Now, as you can see, it does have a platinum, And we've got lots of sort of stacking trophies in the sense that they give you trophies for multiple tiers of doing the same thing. So for instance here, fly through 10 windows, 25 windows and 50. So you get all three. Now, I'm not sure if that's in one go. It's a gold trophy, so I'm guessing it is. It wouldn't just be a case of getting through a few windows and then doing it again to keep adding to the amount. I think you're going to need to, do 50 in one go. So that could be tricky depending on, how forgiving the game is. Touch the sky. So I'm thinking this involves like really flapping hard to get up high, basically. Then you've got to fly for 10 minutes. You've got to fly above the clouds for 8 seconds. Again, I think this is going to be very much a fitness-related trophy where you need to be flapping hard enough to stay high above the clouds for 8 seconds. So you need to keep that going high. I mean, I wonder if you could probably share this with someone else, although they wouldn't have a headset on, so it would be difficult for them. I was wondering if someone could take one and then someone else could take the other and you could half the workload. Although, you'd still have to move the one arm quick enough, but if you're heavily right-handed or left-handed, it might make it a bit easier. For this trophy, it might work if you have two people using their strongest arm, or maybe using both arms to really move it quickly and keep yourself high above the clouds for 8 seconds. I can't see it being too difficult. I think it's more a case of trying to, show you that you can go above the clouds. Although I suppose if that was the case, then they would only need one trophy. Who knows? We'll see. We'll soon find out. I might pick this one up and give it a go, let you guys know how I get on. Collect 100 coins. Again, that depends on if it's in one go or across multiple games. Get a 50 times multiplier. Obviously, that's going to be in one go. So, I mean, all these trophies, you're never going to know how hard they are until you try them or hear some feedback from someone. Fly through 15 zones. Okay. Again, might be accumulative. Dive for 2 seconds, nice and easy. Fly with the train for 10 seconds. That's pretty cool. Visit every zone. Then all the rest of the trophies are for unlocking different birds. So I'm guessing, I'm not sure how they unlock, but it's probably just through playing the game, I would assume, or maybe completing levels, something like that. But yeah, it's a very difficult trophy set to really gauge when it comes to difficulty. But it does look like an interesting game, a nice little game for VR owners if you've got a VR headset and you're looking for something fun to play, maybe something that's a bit more social, because it's going to be something that people are going to have fun watching you doing, isn't it? If they can see on the screen where you're flying and they can see you flapping away, it's just going to be a good laugh when you've got friends around. Not many VR games are very sort of social because obviously you're very much enclosed in the headset. But some games can be a laugh, even if it's just other people watching what you're playing. Playroom VR is good for that because it actually involves the second player and they kind of use the TV. So it will kind of display on the TV something different to what you're seeing in the headset. And that's really cool. It's like a dual screen thing where the second player is actually, on a controller playing the game on the TV, but they're interacting with you. And you're like in the headset, you're playing as a different character. And obviously there are different games, each one works differently. But it at least involves the second player and makes it a co-op or sort of social experience. Alright guys, so it's getting on. We've been here for a little while already. So we are going to dive on to the... Where is it? It's disappeared. There it is. Mass Effect Andromeda. Now, as all of you know, I can't wait for this. And I know a lot of you are super psyched for it as well. So we're going to have a look through the trophies here. I have had a look myself and it looks like a good trophy set. I'm going to start off by saying that because they have, recently we spoke about during the Trophy Hunters Hangout series, the most recent episode, we spoke about trophies that we hate. Not necessarily like specific trophies, but there were some specific ones, but it's more like the types of trophies that we hate. And one of the things that a lot of our subscribers really don't like is online trophies. I know a lot of you agree with that. And we spoke about some ways in which developers can counteract that. So if there are online trophies and the game sort of gets quiet or dies, then they can add in maybe the ability to play against bots and things like that. But Mass Effect Andromeda here, it basically gives you two options for most of the trophies. So it's really cool. We're going to look through so you can see some examples of that. But most of the multiplayer trophies basically can be earned in multiplayer or by doing something equivalent in single player. So if we have a look through the list here, we've got perform 100 power combos here. So for those of you new to Mass Effect, Basically, you and all of your squad mates have different powers, whether they're tech powers or biotic powers, and some of those powers combine together to maybe detonate each other and create an explosion, or maybe just one sort of increases the damage of another. So you can sort of order one of your squad mates to hit an enemy with a power, then you hit them with another power that combines with it, and you just do that 100 times. It's probably going to happen naturally during your playthrough if you're using all your abilities as they're meant to be used. It's worthwhile, because it doesn't always explain in the game which powers go together. It's worthwhile researching it online and just finding out, what combinations there are available. We need to kill 2,000 enemies. Now that will probably, go across single player and multiplayer, because the single player only trophies do have it mentioned there. So 2,000 enemies, that's just, may happen naturally, or you just keep farming it. Kill 100 enemies while hovering. This is a new thing you can do in Mass Effect. You can kind of, you've got like a jump pack and you can hover in midair. So again, that's just something that you will need to keep in mind and might just pop naturally anyway. 100 with melee attacks. Detonate 10 targets that were primed by a teammate. So this is similar to the combos. It is one of the combos basically, but you need to make sure that one of your teammates sets someone up with, let's say, warp. That's one of the skills you can use, which basically weakens an enemy, and then you could hit them with something like overload, which will then detonate warp and set off an explosion. But you need to be the one to trigger the explosion, and it only needs to be 10 targets. Maybe you need to kill them. It does say detonate. I don't know. I think maybe just setting off the explosion will be enough. But to be honest, a tech or a power combo like that is usually enough to kill most of the basic enemies anyway. We've got 250 enemy weak points while using a scope, so you'll need to focus on that properly. That's a fair number of kills, or at least a fair number of weak points to hit. So you probably want to try and favor a sniper rifle, or maybe an assault rifle with a scope if that's possible. Perform 25 revivals on teammates. Now, I don't know whether this is referring to like your squad mates in the single player, or just your like real life teammates in the multiplayer. But I think if you play the single player first, you're probably going to revive. You probably naturally revive 25 of your squad mates. It does say teammates rather than squad mates, does it? Oh no, okay. Single player. Okay, so I was thinking it was going to say squad. Here it says teammate again, and this is a single player trophy. Right, so I think this does refer to single player, but they haven't put single player because I'm guessing it's accumulative across both modes. So because it's using the same term as it used here for the single player trophy, then I'm sure that your squad mates in the game do count as well. But like I say, there's no single player in brackets because it will also include anybody you revive while playing online, I suppose. We've got using constructs, kill 100 enemies. Now, I think the constructs are basically, they're probably like a tech skill. I think they're like turrets and drones and stuff that you can place. Now, there is another trophy related to one of the constructs later on, which we'll take a look at, but that's, just something that will happen if you're using those tech abilities. I think you may need to play this several times, playing as different classes. I'm not sure how the class system works in this. If it's the same as before, then you're stuck with one throughout the whole playthrough. So I think it might require like 3 or 4 playthroughs, because there are some trophies that I believe you'd only be able to earn with certain characters. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that you need to complete those other playthroughs, but if you play for long enough to be able to unlock certain abilities and then use those abilities with those other classes to be able to get enough kills or whatever it is you need with that ability, to pop these trophies, then that should be enough. Shatter a frozen enemy with a jump melee attack. That's pretty cool. Obviously, you've got cryo ammo, I believe, and you've got some abilities that I think freeze enemies. So a jump melee attack, maybe you're using your boost jump or just jumping in the air and meleeing them. That should be enough. Hit an enemy with a thrown enemy 25 times. Now again, this is tied to an ability that will probably only be available for 1 or 2 of the classes. There are some that kind of carry across. You've got the Adept class, which is like a mixture of the Tech class and the Biotic class. Sorry, I was having to think there. But there might be a class that gives you access to as many of these abilities as possible, and then you may need to just do like one other short playthrough as like another class. I'm guessing if you get to one of the areas that has lots of smaller enemies coming at you, you can just use the throw ability whenever it's available. Like, try not to kill the enemies and just keep throwing one of the enemies back, and it will knock them naturally into. If you try and do it when there's just 2 enemies around, you'd have to like really carefully aim it. But if you do it when there's a lot of enemies around, then you're bound to like be bouncing some of the guys off others as you're chucking them all over the place. Detonate a trip mine with a thrown enemy. Oh, okay. That will be a bit of a fiddly one probably, but not too bad. I think if you just get one enemy, maybe, I'm not sure if you can tell your teammates to like hold off, maybe send them back and send them to cover so that they don't shoot them, and then just lay a trip mine out. Or, I don't know, can you lay trip mines? It's probably something that's naturally in the world. So maybe you'll have to keep an eye out for some trip mines and try and like line an enemy up so you can throw him into it. Direct your Remnant 6 to attack each type of Remnant enemy. Now this is one of the constructs we mentioned earlier. This is like a little drone that you can call on, depending on your class, of course. And because it's Remnant, this is called Friendly Fire. So it's a Remnant 6 and you're trying to use it on all the Remnant enemies. So it's like firing on his own kind, as it were. But that's one that you're going to definitely need to keep your eye out for. I'm guessing if it's like the previous games, then it's probably going to be accumulative across all your playthroughs. But then again, you might not have access to the Remnant 6 as other classes on the other playthroughs. So you probably want to be making, real heavy use of the Remnant 6, especially when you're in areas, with Remnant enemies. I'm not really sure what they are. I've deliberately stayed clear of any story details, but apparently you can, actively send the Remnant 6 to attack a specific enemy. So you call it out and then you tell it what enemy to attack. So you can sort of get to a Remnant area, just make sure you're using it on every enemy you come across. And that shouldn't be too bad, as long as you have it in the back of your mind to work on as you're playing through the game. We've got hit 25 floating enemies with concussive shot, lance, or incinerate. So floating enemies, there's a move called, I'm kind of assuming that all the moves and skills are the same, or at least many of them carry over from previous games. Maybe I'm totally wrong, but in the previous Mass Effects, there was a lift move, and that would cause enemies to float. And then the concussive shot was one of the soldier abilities, I believe. It was basically like a tracking, sort of like grenade launcher, but it was more to do with, it would hit them hard, do some damage, but also knock them back. So you need to use that, or Lance, which I actually forget what that was. I forget the Lance ability. I think it existed in the previous games, but I believe that was one of the Vanguard skills, and I never played as a Vanguard. Unless it's a new one, maybe that's why I don't recognise it. Incinerate, of course, that's fire, basically. You just set the enemy on fire. So yeah, that'll be easy enough. You're going to need to combine together certain, squad mates, because you're not going to have access to all of these skills, or at least, you won't have lift and concussive shot, I shouldn't think. So you'd have to, ask one of your teammates to lift the enemies and then hit them with concussive shot. And again, this is one that might require you to play as a certain class. Although it's quite handy that it's allowing us to use any one of these 3. So probably most classes will do in that case. Use a melee attack to hit 25 floating enemies. So I guess same thing. In fact, we had a trophy earlier, didn't we, for jump, like freezing someone and then jumping and meleeing them. So maybe we'll be able to lift someone in the air, freeze them while they're up there, jump and hit them, melee them, and that will get us the first trophy, and we'll start working towards this one as well. A lot of combat trophies here, as most of these trophies are all combat related, which is cool because it means you can work on them whenever you like, as long as you have access to the required abilities. Light 3 enemies on fire with 1 continuous flamethrower attack. So that must be a new type of weapon. I think I've seen it being used, and I think it's the kind of like heavy weapon that you use whilst floating. I think I saw footage of, a character floating around using the flamethrower. But yeah, that's something new. I don't think they had flamethrowers in the previous games. Travel at least 30 meters in a single jump. Maybe you need to upgrade it to be able to do that. Complete romances with 3 different characters across all playthroughs. Now, I think in the previous games you could only romance 1 character per game, per playthrough. So this is one of the trophies that makes me think it's possible that you might need to do 3 different playthroughs, or maybe you just need to be a real sleaze bag and kind of romance 3 characters during one playthrough. And I hope that's not the case. I hope it does require 3 playthroughs, because to be honest, like, I always act in games the way I would act in real life, and I'm not that kind of person. It would just annoy me having to like romance 3 different people and have them all hate me because I was cheating on them or whatever. I just, like, that would take me out of the experience. So hopefully I can, we can do 3 different playthroughs and do it across the 3. Well cloaked, hit an enemy with a charge attack. Now, the name of this trophy is Vanguard Surprise. Now, there's a class called Vanguard, so I'm guessing this is a trophy that you need to earn with the Vanguard class. I'm saying all this about classes. It could be that they're taking a totally different approach. Some of you might be able to answer this for me. Maybe they're setting it up so that you can swap your class, a bit like we mentioned earlier. I like it when they do that, where you've got one character and you can swap between different classes or different approaches. Maybe just when you're back at the ship or whatever, you can choose to change classes. If that's the case, then that will make all these trophies a lot easier to earn in one playthrough. So maybe if any of you guys have read any information on that and could confirm that for us. I haven't a chance to read up too much. And like I say, I don't really want to read articles to answer those types of questions, because I'm bound to sort of stumble across other things that I didn't want to know that would be spoilers for me. We've got keep the Nomad airborne for 35 seconds. I think the Nomad, it's basically this game's version of the Mako, which was the vehicle you drove around planets in the previous games. So this kind of makes me think that there's probably planets with lower gravity, which is pretty cool. All the planets were pretty much the same on the last one. You could kind of hop, you had rockets underneath you and you could float for a few seconds, but this is cool, the fact that maybe there's the opportunity to float around because there's less gravity. That's kind of awesome. Here we go. We've got complete an insanity single player game or 5 gold multiplayer extractions from any firebase. So this is one of the examples of a trophy that, gives you 2 options. You can either go into multiplayer and do the hardest setting, or I'm guessing the hardest or one of the hardest settings, or you can do an insanity single player game. Now, I'm hoping that, your level, you can do like New Game Plus, so your level carries across and you can do a second playthrough, making Insanity easier. But I'm hoping that you can change classes after your first playthrough and then do New Game Plus as a different class, or, maybe you're able to swap classes like we mentioned before. But either way, I hope you don't, if you're doing Insanity on New Game Plus, I hope it doesn't tie you to being the same class that you were the first playthrough, because that would ruin the possibility of being able to work on all the other class related trophies. It would be ideal to be able to do 3 playthroughs with the same character but switch classes each time, so you can get the combat related trophies, so that you can romance 3 different people, and so that you can do the final run on Insanity where you're nice, a nice high level and you've got a lot of upgrades and everything. Successfully complete a combined 25 strike team missions or Apex multiplayer mode extractions. Now, the strike team missions, from what I can tell, this is something in the single player where you basically send out teams of people, teams of soldiers on missions, like, automated ones. You don't have to go with them. So this is another trophy that's either single player or multiplayer. So you either do 25 of those missions during the single player campaign, which you're probably going to be doing anyway, because I'm guessing it's going to give you rewards that are useful during your playthrough, or you can do the Apex, these multiplayer extractions. So I really like that. I love the way that they're making sure that if this game dies online, you can still platinum it, basically. On Mass Effect 3, they had similar trophies, but you did need to, as far as I remember, you did need to play online to be able to raise your battle awareness or something, or situational awareness. It was something related to the final battle, basically, where you needed to get as many of the different races in to help you, and that increased your battle readiness. That was it, I think. And you need to do some online to increase it to 100%, basically, so that when you went into the final battle, everyone survived and everything went perfectly, basically. So I think you needed to play online for that, and it's a bit annoying because I keep meaning to go back and replay the Mass Effect games and get the trophies on my new account, because I never did it on Stay Patient. But those online trophies, or those online sort of requirements for reaching 100% battle readiness, kind of puts me off a little bit. Although I guess you can do it solo, I think, or maybe just find one other friend to do it with. Anyway, we've got a lot of story-related trophies here, so I'm going to skip over these because I don't really want any spoilers. I just kind of scanned through them, And is that the last? Yeah. So I scanned through them. Obviously, most of you probably don't want us looking through them necessarily. They don't really give much away, but we don't need to look at them. They're just, from what I can tell, they're for completing all the story missions, but they could be side missions as well. So maybe keep an eye out for anything side quest related. I'm going to be trying to just 100% everything in the game anyway once I play it, as long as I have time. Need to try and find some time to finish Horizon Zero Dawn first. We've got, in single player mode, recruit all 6 squad mates. So that's cool that they're still doing the idea, running with the idea of recruiting your squad mates, and then hopefully you can gain their loyalty through missions related to them as well, a bit like on Mass Effect 2. Land on an alien planet, I'm guessing that will be the first trophy you unlock. Reach level 40 in single player mode or level 20 in multiplayer mode. So if you've got all the single player trophies and you're a long way off level 40, then if you feel more like playing multiplayer, if you'd rather play that, then you can play that and level up there instead. So that's kind of cool. Kill a foe with a rank 5 weapon in a single player game or equip a rank 10 weapon in multiplayer. So again, this would just be a case of buying weapons in single player or maybe finding them, maybe upgrading them. Unlock rank 6 for each single player profile type or obtain a level 6 multiplayer bonus stat. Now this kind of, I'm not sure what the profiles are, but it could be that they are the classes. We mentioned, didn't we, how it would be cool if you could swap between different classes. Maybe this is what this is referring to. Maybe you can, go back to your ship and swap to a different profile, which gives you different abilities. I don't know that. Don't quote me on that. And it's probably wrong, but it would be cool if that was the case. And ranking up each one, that's kind of cool as well. It kind of encourages you to use them all, although, it could well just be something totally unrelated. We'll have to just find out when the game releases. We've only got just over a week left. Full power. Evolve 1 tech, 1 combat, and 1 biotic power to rank 6. So rank 6 is the same rank as it mentioned here with the profiles. So, yeah, I'm starting to think the profiles might be classes because, if it's saying to upgrade 1 of each, basically, 1 tech, combat, and biotic, maybe the idea is that you upgrade all 3, 1 of each on 1 character rather than switching classes between playthroughs. And because it's ranking up to rank 6, maybe to rank up a profile, you have to get all of the related skills to rank 6. Because if you look here, we've got the one for leveling up the skills is, or the powers is bronze, but then the one for getting the profiles up to rank 6 is silver. So maybe if you get all of the powers, all of the tech, combat, and biotic powers to rank 6, that will then increase your overall sort of rating for that particular class to rank 6. And then you need to do that with all the classes. Yeah, maybe that's the case. I'm really kind of just thinking off the top of my head now, just trying to imagine what it might mean. But that would be really cool. If you can switch classes, you can level everything up on 1 character, that would be awesome. We've got reach level 25 in single player or 15 in multiplayer, so that's the same as the last trophy, but just a lower level. Create 6 strike teams or earn 25 assist medals in multiplayer mode. So again, you can choose the strike teams we mentioned are the teams that you send out on missions, or you can just get assists in multiplayer. Or I guess assist medals, maybe you need to get a certain amount in each match or whatever. Promote a strike team to level 20. So if we need to do that anyway, if we need to promote a strike team up to what might be the top level, then we're going to be using them a lot and probably popping the other strike team related trophies anyway. So you'll probably get those trophies in single player rather than multiplayer. Equip 3 different profile types. Okay. All right, so that's kind of put a dampener on my theory from before. I don't think you're going to be able to have 3 classes equipped at the same time. So maybe profile types are just like certain upgrades. Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see. Jack of all trades here. It's hard to see the image there, but yeah, I mean, like I say, we'll just have to find out. Increase all discovered planets to 100% viability and 1 discovered planet. Now this could be another trophy we need to really keep our eye out on for the whole playthrough. This could be the kind of counterpart or the kind of equivalent of the trophy for reaching 100% battle readiness in Mass Effect 3. This is a gold trophy, as you can see, so this is going to be one of the toughest ones, or the longest ones at least. Now, I think Mass Effect Andromeda is all about finding planets that are inhabitable. So maybe it's a case of completing missions on those planets, clearing out enemies, like setting things up so that the air is breathable and things like that. But it seems like this is going to be one of the trophies that you're going to need to work on all through your playthrough and make sure to finish before the end of the game. So yeah, that could be that'll be interesting, that one. I really can't wait to see how this game works and how it's structured. 3 more trophies here: craft armor or a gun with 3 augments, scan 100 different objects, nice and easy I assume, complete 20 remnant puzzles in a single playthrough. Maybe you have the option of skipping those puzzles, so you don't necessarily need to complete them, but we do need to complete 20. Maybe it's a case of finding them. They're probably not all in our, along our natural path to completing the game. So just a case of exploring thoroughly, I guess. Alright guys, so that's Mass Effect Andromeda. I'm really excited for it, and that's a few of the other games as well, some interesting ones this week. And don't forget Gem Smashers. Yes, Gem Smashers, nice easy platinum, available on PS4 for $12.99 or £7.99. It's actually cheaper on the the UK store. So, if you have got a UK account and you're in America, especially with the fact that the British pound is quite, undervalued at the moment, it's quite weak. You should be able to get it for cheaper if you were to buy it on your UK account instead of the US one. But there we are, guys. Thanks very much for watching. Thanks for all the support on the channel. Hope you've enjoyed this week's show. I've definitely enjoyed having a look through Mass Effect's trophies there, as you can tell by the amount of time we spent on them. But fingers crossed they really do live up to the hype for that, because the original trilogy was amazing. Obviously, this is like a bit of a reboot, so I really hope they don't mess it up. But either way, I'm totally psyched to find out how it turns out. So thank you once again, guys. Have a great week. Come and join me on Wednesday. Actually, no, sorry, Tuesday. Don't forget the the 10,000 subs celebratory stream where we're looking at all my trophies. And then again, obviously on Wednesday and Thursday for the US store update, and then the European store update, looking at the sales and any trophy related highlights. So I will hopefully see you then, guys. Have a good one. Catch you later.